Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. There's very interesting news today about the King ordering His Majesty's Royal Navy to change the name of one of their ships. Now, the ship's name was the HMS Agincourt, named after the battle in 1415. And his logic for doing this is that he didn't want to upset the French. This sounds, and indeed has been declared, very, quote, woke, end quote, of him. But there was another reason at work. Agincourt happened in 1415, hundreds of years ago. Now, doubtless some French people don't like to talk about it because it was a major defeat on their part. But what a strange line to draw in the sand. But there's another side to it. Okay, maybe we can accept there's enough French people to realize a tactical mistake by a commander, 600 years ago? It cost them a critical battle. Basically, they had the English cornered, and the English, using their longbowmen as kind of mobile infantry, and because the hill was rather muddy, the French were charging up and they hit walls of stakes. Horses don't like stakes. They don't. They will do anything they can to avoid charging into them. Because, they got that head exposed up top and everything. I don't care what you see in Lord of the Rings or whatever it is. Horses don't like sticking their head in somewhere they might lose their eyesight or something like that. After a whole day of fighting, the French lost a large amount of their knights. Or for Monty Python fans, their kniggets. And it was not a grand day, to say the least. There have actually been 6 primary ships, some were capital ships, this one's a submarine, that were named Agincourt. And now, to this protest that nobody apparently is making, the king, I apologize. For most of my life, he was a prince. He's the king now. If I make that mistake again, I apologize. But he has changed the name from Agincourt to Achilles. Now remember, part of your education in the royal household is you learn the classics. This would be an Iliad. I don't think he's mentioned much in Odyssey, but I stand to be corrected. It's been a little while since I read Odyssey. It's a good book, it's just I haven't found time to pick up the pages. This is, if it is true, and King Charles is bending down to some sort of peer pressure, it's a smack in the face that you didn't see. Achilles, you see, was a hero. But hero in ancient Greece, and, this is even beyond ancient Greece. This is the Dacians and the Trojan warriors and stuff like that. This is almost going as far back as European history goes. Achilles was a very moody, very, how am I going to say this? Not the kind of guy you want to bring to a modern battlefield. First of all, he had an argument with his king and refused to help, even when the Trojans were literally at the gates of their very tents. And, the king came to Achilles, help us now if you're going to. No, I'm still pissed off. Do you want to know what they were angry about? The prophetess Cassandra. She was very pretty, and the king decided to take her. King Agamemnon decided to take her as her own. Whereas, since Achilles also desired her, and he felt he was owed by the king, he just locked up his household, for lack of better. It was probably tents, and refused to come out and help them, even in the worst situations. Then they killed. How am I going to say this? His assistant, and I'm just going to get out. I'm skating around problems by making him an assistant, Patroclus. And Patroclus had put on Achilles' armor to scare the Trojans and rally the troops around him. And it worked until Hector caught up with him. Hector was the great champion on the Trojan side. This is when Achilles snapped. I forget whether he got his armor again. I don't think he did. He got other armor. And he mercilessly hunted Hector down like a dog. As he's catching up with them, he threatens he's going to eat his very bones and his flesh. Achilles has gone into as a berserker. He does eliminate Hector, and Paris, the one who started all this nonsense by abducting the king's bride and bringing her home, he kills Achilles with a shot from his bow. Achilles lived with dishonor and died with dishonor, but you forget, in ancient times, being a warrior isn't about how honorable you are and how you conduct your affairs. It's simply how many people you killed. Odysseus, as I mentioned, he was not considered much of a warrior, even though he won pretty much every single battle he was in. He survived being cast away, losing the fleet, and taking 20 years to get home. And people consider him not much of a warrior, despite the fact that, he was easily in their top 10, if not top 5. But because he preferred to resolve situations with his mouth and with his wit, he wasn't considered much of a warrior. So instead of thinking, oh, we're going to make sure that the French don't get offended by calling the ship Agincourt, which, remember, is a big loss for the French. No, we're going to call this submarine the Achilles, a savage killer with no remorse, no regret. One that maybe even the king cannot control. So if this was knuckling down to woke powers or anything, King Charles is having a bit of a laugh here. Okay, no. We won't name it after a battle. We'll name it after a really savage warrior. One that didn't even make it home. There's all sorts of games happening with names and designations and similar things. This is just one way where one of the ultra elites just took what they wanted and made sure they got what they wanted. Achilles is a pretty strong name, as long as you don't look too deep into the personality. And if you do, it's a clear threat to anybody. So instead of, what was it, Henry the 15th, the 5th, commemorating one of his victories, which he had a lot of victories, and he wasn't alive for much longer. This was towards the nadir of his career. Instead, you get a nuclear submarine capable of defending Europe, and a name that even barely literate people will know and what it represents. Fascinating. Maybe they've decided Agincourt would offend the French, but I don't see um, any moves made the other way. Something that would make or the French are doing to make the English feel better. This is entirely one-way charity. And the fact is, I don't think it was done for the reasons that people think it was. That's just not the way the royal family work. They changed it so that they could have something in their arsenal. Remember, that is the king's personal arsenal. Much like the U.S. president is commander of the armed forces, other people have other people in between, but that's their personal armed forces. Yeah, we'll have an Achilles in that. Everybody around the Black Sea is going to know exactly who it is. Everybody around Turkey is going to know exactly who it is. So it's a quiet form of flag waving. And by golly, does it. It doesn't show it doesn't show that King Charles is giving in to wokeness. It shows, okay, you don't like that? I'll give you something else. Hope you choke on it. It's not that they're one step ahead, it's just that they've had longer to think of this. And if you somehow took Achilles away, there's how many other names? We could Google a random name right now. George. Okay. George is a nice name. But if we Google it, we got French Georges, we got English Georges. I think we got Austrian Georges. Not sure on the Austrian one though. And you scroll through soon enough, you're going to find that one George who wasn't very nice, didn't play nice with others. Vladimir, nice name. I can't count how many tribal chiefs and rulers, even up to today, people ruling that have the name of Vladimir. Again, I'm sure it's a lovely name. So, as the old saying, what's in a name? The answer is absolutely nothing. It's only what you choose to read into it. Yes, there's people that break down numbers and words and names and all that sort of thing. But the average person on the street believes in it about the same as I believe that this snowplow that's annoying me is going to come on my street again. Okay, maybe I messed that analogy up. But I'm getting back into this after a year, so what do you expect? Anyway, with that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show and the mystery of the enlightened missile destroyer. With that, we hope that you'll join us again. I'm going to try to get back to this during the week. I announced this on yesterday's broadcast, but to be honest with you, I hid yesterday's broadcast because I was still timing it to see if everything was working. By the way, this is a new microphone. Hope it's better, even though it's almost the same as I had before, except for how new it is and what version it is. It's just an attempt to try to keep YouTube from shutting it down on me. We'll see. There's plenty more microphones out in the sea. We will be announcing a partnership with radio station, AM radio station, both for an independent talk show and for what's looking like an hour-long 3-person talk show on the weekends to fill in the void of all the great shows that we used to have. I'm not saying we're going to be great. I'm saying we're going to be there. And yeah, this is our first step to recovering. Let's see how it goes. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share. Don't forget to click the icon down below so that way you can be notified of every single time a new show comes online. Once I get back in the trenches and firing again. I'll have a few before they'll be dropping about noon every day, because that's what I did before and it helped out. But right now I'm still working out the technical details. So with that, we hope you have a fantastic day.